My wife had an affair 4 years ago. Now I have an STD. I, 32, male. Just over 3 years ago, I found out my high school sweetheart wife, 31, female, was having an affair. I was absolutely devastated. She didn't break off the affair immediately and stayed at this person's house for 2 days while I was still overseas. She lied about the affair on every occasion, with a sprinkle of truth in between. It took months for me to find out 60 to 75% of the story as she slowly fed me information. Over that several-month period, my wife was of little help to me. She was a great wife outside of anything in the healing process, and this kept me hopeful that something would change. Eventually, we fell back into a normal routine, but I still had a lot of residual damage that remained. Later that year, my wife told me she was pregnant, and we welcomed our daughter into the world in late 2020. Things were great, but I still knew that these lingering feelings weren't going away, so I wrote my wife a letter. This letter explained everything from my perspective. It was over 8 pages long, and I wrote it over a period of months, deciding whether I would give it to her or not. Finally, a day came, and I couldn't help but want to give her the letter. We had just had a small fight, and I know it probably wasn't the best time for her to read it, but I did, and this was her response after I asked her what she thought. "I feel really sorry for you." I left it at that in the hope that she would really understand my struggles, but instead, it was never spoken of again. Several months later, that is, 2 months ago, I contracted an STD. My wife also came down with the same STD several months before she supposedly started the affair, 2018. I know this is going to sound naive, but when my wife first contracted this STD, I believed I had given it to her. I had had somewhat similar symptoms since I was a teenager and had just assumed that I had passed them on to her eventually. In retrospect, this was stupid, and I should have been checked the moment my wife was confirmed to have contracted the STD. So after several hours of pleading with my wife to tell me the truth, she told me that the affair lasted longer than originally stated and that she had sex with this man as a one-night stand several months earlier and then started a full affair with him several months later. This is somewhat believable, as I looked over her phone records at the time, and details of her location were freely available on her mobile phone bill. Her story does align. However, she shows many traits of a liar, such as not answering my question with a yes or no answer, blaming me for not getting over the affair, and tending to have mini episodes of inappropriate yelling, etc. Upon finding out the second chapter of the affair, I laid it down bare to my wife and told her I needed her to step up and really help me through this if she wanted this relationship to survive. If not, we needed to separate. I asked for therapy, transparency, time to talk about the affair so I can lay it to rest, full accountability, understanding of my emotions, and for her to be proactive in helping me, such as by reading books on infidelity recovery and infidelity PTSD. She didn't do any of these things of her own accord. It always required a push from me and a fight between us to get anywhere. She did listen to a couple of podcasts, I believe, but nothing ever came of it, and her continual denial of helping me through this ensued. Our marriage has been a yo-yo for the last 2 months, and I have to continually ask her to be proactive. Generally, the arguments start with me asking her to do better, and she gets her heckles up because she thinks that attending therapy and sending me an apology maybe once or twice a week is all I should need. She has done bits and pieces throughout, so I do have to give her some credit, but a lot of it is what she wants. For instance, I asked her to write a letter outlining everything that happened over the past 8 or so months, as she struggled to talk about it, and it was her suggestion. The letter took 3 weeks to write, and I started to really feel as though my wife was really putting in the effort to explain what happened during those months. Upon reading the letter, I immediately noticed it was short. The letter had 2 paragraphs about how she felt when she started the affair. We have spoken at length about this, 2 paragraphs about the storyline, which lasted 8 months, and 2 paragraphs of an apology. I was somewhat appreciative but pretty bummed. She could have put so much more detail in the letter about what happened, but I am now left with many unanswered questions. After all, that was the purpose of writing the letter. Admittedly, we have only been to therapy 3 times, and I find the therapist to be good, but the therapist also cheated on her husband many years ago. Some of the things she has said are contrary to my beliefs. For instance, I wanted my wife to provide phone records from before the affair started to ensure that this is what she has explained. My wife refused, and the therapist agreed, with my wife stating, "And what good will that bring?" I was quite stunned. I thought the therapist would ask my wife to be fully transparent so I wouldn't have to live with the thought that my wife could possibly be a serial cheater, but that wasn't the case, and I'm still unsure whether this therapist is right for us. I would also like to clarify that my wife is still a great wife. She has agreed to spice up our sex life, which has been great. She is a great mother to our beautiful daughter, and she is just an all-around great partner. There has been no sign of any infidelity within the last 3 or so years, and I do believe without a shadow of a doubt that she is sorry for having an affair rather than dealing with our marital issues at the time. I am at the point where I want to give up. My wife believes that what she has provided and is currently providing is more than enough, and anything above that is crazy. So much so that she will probably end up walking away if I don't accept therapy and a message every so often apologizing for the things she has done. My wife is aware that I have PTSD from all of this. I have spoken to her at length about why I think I need the things I have asked for, but she pushes so hard on her line of what is appropriate that I am starting to think that maybe I am asking for too much. I understand that it has been years, but I never got to heal initially, and facing a lifelong STD and finding out about a further betrayal recently has really put me in a bad headspace. Now for the top advice. Here is some advice. Get a DNA test for the kids. Leave her because she truly is not remorseful at all, and not only is she tickling you, but she doesn't think that you will leave her, which is a reason she acts the way she does. The fact that you are putting more effort into saving that relationship than she, who caused the issues with infidelity in the first place and gave you an STD, is proof enough it isn't worth saving. Contact as many lawyers as you can because it's obvious that she's only sorry that she got caught, not what she did to you. I hope you find peace. Get a new therapist. Yours is a quack and affair apologist. Therapists should never make value judgments in sessions. The whole point of therapy is to provide an environment for clients to air their feelings, explore them, and analyze them. It is not the place to tell them what they should or shouldn't do, in the therapist's opinion. What good will that bring, is a value judgment. It implies the therapist knows exactly what your state of mind is, what motivates you, why, where it will go, and how your wife will respond in this hypothetical version of events. All details the therapist cannot know. An actual therapist would have intervened with something like, "And what good do you think will come of this? What purpose does this hold for you? Why is that important to you?" And then again quizzing you on your answers to examine your motivations and hopefully make them apparent to you for analysis. I appreciate this doesn't engage with the wider topic of your post, but that bit made me a bit mad. As someone working in the territory, to hear a professional say something like that, as well as apparently oversharing, otherwise, how did you know she had an affair? That's not stuff you tell clients, is disgraceful. Sorry, but I am going to be harsh about this one. What the actual heck do you think you are doing? She cheated and continued the affair longer than you thought, lied to you and hid information for years, did the bare minimum to help you then and now, hardly took any steps to help you recover from it, and gave you an STD. You had to dig the truth out, which I can assume you don't know is the full truth. You still have to beg her to help you on this. Are you planning to remove the rose-tinted love glasses and see the shell of a marriage that you are in? She doesn't give a damn about you, she's just ensuring that she has the stability and comfort that you provide. I can bet there were no consequences of her actions and hardly anyone in your family knew about her stepping out of marriage. Unless you are making her face the consequences, you'll be getting betrayed by this, time and again. The first thing that you need to do is contact a lawyer and then get your kids' DNA tested. The longer you live in this marriage, the more miserable you'll be. This right here. This post made me cringe, and your response to Hope's post gave some glimmer of hope. I hope he listens. Nothing against OP or anyone who is thinking about reconciliation, however, once someone cheats on you, they show that they don't care about you, and here, OP's wife have literally proved that she doesn't have an ounce of respect for him, and OP is basically destroying himself to make something work that can't be salvaged. I hope he sees what he's doing and everything turns out to be good for him. I can only describe it as Stockholm Syndrome. I was the OP once, and it's like you still care about how they will react when they lose everything, making these awful decisions, and it's painful to make the decision to do a 180. He should 100% force himself to divorce and no contact this woman so he can realize that his emotions right now aren't real. It's like Stockholm Syndrome, it's not love, and he should walk away as soon as possible. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what you think. Thank you.